in most cases, we made sure that we executed the way he expected us to.
Some of these guys were pretty wild when they came here. I remember a lot of them. And now they've done very well in business. And they'll go back to Coach Loney and they'll say it's the discipline, it's the caring, and they became team players. And any businessman will say, if I can hire a guy that is a team player, I want him in my business. And that's what Don did.
Somebody said to me not long ago, how many of your players are playing in the CFL or the whatever you go to after college? I said, you know, I really don't care. I really don't care. But ask me, how many players are doctors? How many are lawyers? How many are school teachers? How many are the fathers of very good families? Then I'll give you a big list. And the game of football to me has been the means for people to achieve.
Firstly, meet some of the individuals who made 1958 a championship football year at St. Francis Xavier. John McKernan, senior tackle from Hampstead, New York. Tackle Joe Fox from Pittsfield, Massachusetts. Kickoff specialist Ron McLean from New Waterford, Nova Scotia. This boot, in the traditional Pearly Cup game, will be talked about for years to come. Bill Shea, guard and linebacker. Shea and Rowe are 1959 season captains. Here's Shea recovering a fumble. An alert ball hawk. He's one of three brothers who have meant a great deal to St. FX football.
Don was a life skill coach. Part of that was football. His job is to turn these boys and turn people that he associated with, including me and including the equipment managers and including Johnny Pike, to turn them into men of will and determination and independence. People who knew what they wanted in life and knew how to go about getting it. People, whether it's in the field of arts, whether it's in the professions or politics, achieve only great success by going that extra, going all out, not going halfway.
Not only teaching a bunch of football players how to kick and push a leather thing around to satisfy a bunch of idiots in the stands. I don't mean that, that's just a joke. But you're trying to take out of the game sort of the noble aspects of the game. How is this game going to prepare these kids for life in general?
Now get set for a great play by Tom Delaney. The ball scrimmage on the St. FX 35. See the great block by Ramsey McLean. It puts Delaney in the clear. The Portland Flash reached 75 yards for touchdown number 3. The extra point is good, and the X-Men have increased their lead.
As August was passing by, and we were getting closer and closer to the opening of football camp, the intensity and the joy in his life would be paramount. He would look so forward to the boys showing up and who was coming and where they were coming from, and he would know everything about them. And he'd work them hard. I mean, the Kremajizik would be out within a day. They would have huge blisters on the back of their feet, and the boys would go back out and they'd play for him. They knew that he cared about them. Sure, there was rough times, but he was running a football team. And he was taking these boys and turning them into men in that process.
I know there's some that didn't like me at all, that's for sure. But you're not coaching for the guy to like you, you're coaching for the guy to respect you. And you can respect and not like. You have to determine fairly early in your life, if you're going to go into coaching, that character is important. So you always have that in the back of your head, that you're trying to develop a little character in the kids.
The ends are Paul Schoenhart and John Purcell. The quarterback, Calgary's Terry Dolan. Flanker set wide to the left side is Skip Corrigan. The handoff is to Brule, driving, touchdown! Brule!
He was a psychologist. A lot of coaches have a lot of guys come in and they lose them. He had everybody figured out. And he knew what it took to tweak this guy here, to be soft with this guy, give him a pat. This guy, you kicked him in the rear, and he had all that figured out. He had a whole set of exercises lined up for us, and every day we had these damn logs where we had to run between the legs. It was almost like relay races. It was very military. I look back at the, at the coach's theory behind all this was that, I mean, he had us better conditioned. He was so far ahead of his time. I mean, that's why we were so much better.
In the double wing, back goes Dolan. He looks, throws over the center. The receiver is wide open. John Purcell breaks out over the 50.
To come down and play hockey, and I made the football team and ended up playing football here 4 years. He ended up more of a lot of father figure for me. Father died when I was down here in '64, I think it was, and I went home, and my mom said, well, he made you go back to St. X. You got a good fellow in Don Loney there, he'll take care of you. So he trained me not only for football, but for life, and he's very, very great man.
Delaney takes a wide handoff, flips out to Ernie Fauché, who moves the ball.
He got along wonderful with the sisters. Yeah, in fact, the sisters made the blankets for the dog and the little mitts and stuff to put on the paws. They did all that for Don Loney, and you'd see in the wintertime the dog would coming along with the blanket on him.
That was something special to them. They used to sew the socks, sew the uniforms, the sweaters, and the St. Martha's are the ones he was closest to because they lived on campus.
They were also in charge of the kitchen in there, and there was a student came in one day, and she asked the old sister in the kitchen, to pray for her. And she said, no, I can't pray for you because I'm putting all my time with the football team.
So anyways, the sisters weren't allowed to go to the games because in those days if they had to wear their habit all the time, and they weren't allowed to go to a game and all that. So one sister would go over to and she'd take her notebook and she'd watch the game in the window, and she'd be writing stuff down. And then she'd go back after the game, after supper, and they'd all meet in their little room upstairs, and she'd tell them all about the game. That went on for quite a few years before they were allowed to see a game.
In my mind, he was number one, and he'll always be number one.
And with seconds remaining in the game, Somerville runs out the clock with a quarterback sneak. There goes the final gun. St. Francis Xavier, still unbeaten in 8 games, become the Eastern Canadian Intermediate Football Champions.
Don, right from day one, was a visionary. He was a molder of young men, first of all, but he also had a vision for the game in the country. His vision was, now we have this conference, let's have some kind of a post-season game that would bring together the winner of this conference with a winner from somewhere else. And that's where the Atlantic Bowl came from. And it was only 2 years after Don got to St. X that the first Atlantic Bowl game was played.
And then we went to the CIAU, and I was president of the football group in the CIAU in those days, just for 1 year now. But our goal was to get football in Canada from coast to coast on the same level so we could have a proper championship game.
He and Father Rousel talked about it, and they met with Peter Gorman, who was the father of Terry Gorman and John Gorman. And Peter was a businessman and very involved in doing something for the poor children of the world. So they went to see him and they said, look, why don't we have a national championship in Toronto that would bring together the top teams from the East and the West, much like the Grey Cup. And so Peter Gorman said, look, I'll get some people together, and as you remember, it's history. And St. X played in the second one in '66.
The Canadian College Bowl. Ideal weather this afternoon. In the bowl game, and undefeated teams in their respective conference. Waterloo Lutheran. And let's meet St. Francis Xavier X-Men, 81, John Purcell, the left end. Number 72, the left tackle, John Kearney. Number 65, the left guard, Bernie McLean. At center is number 52, Ted Goodwin.
When you left Antigonish to play in the first Children's Bowl in Toronto, let's face it, St. X would be underdogs.
Yeah.
But did you feel when you made that trip to the city that, watch out, we're going to surprise some people?
Well, no, actually, because you read the papers, and we were called the Weak Sisters of the East. We were told we didn't deserve to be there. Mind you, that we were the only 2 undefeated teams in the country at the time. But, we thought ourselves probably as somewhat underdogs.
The right tackle, number 75, is Jim Shea. The right end, number 82, Paul Schoenhardt. Number 27 is Skip Corrigan, the left halfback. The outstanding fullback, number 30, Paul Brule.
Knowing the way we had been prepared, or we've always been prepared, there would be nothing left to chance.
Yeah.
Number 20 is the flanker, Terry Aronson. Number 41 at halfback, Terry Gorman. And number 10, the quarterback, Terry Dolan. Ideal weather.
We felt we could win every game and there was no problem. It wasn't going in and being nervous or anything because we knew everything about it and we knew the plays, we knew what we were going to do, we knew the strategy.
Crowd barely settled in their seats when halfback Skip Corrigan started the X-Men on their way. And off wide to Skip Corrigan. Corrigan got outside a block. Now the pursuit is on. He's into the 20, bites one off, and goes out of bounds on the 14-yard line.
When we went out in the field, the socks had to be up, the shoes had to be shined, we had to have the pants right, the sweaters were clean, everything was just, had to be immaculate, going out like you're a pro team.
Mm-hmm. Even our shoelaces were washed.
Yeah.
We used to have to scrub our shoelaces. Remember, John?
Yeah.
Even in our room, we had our shoelaces hanging up in our room, white. I mean, we walked out there, everything was sparkling. Every guy had $100 football shoes on.
The ends are Paul Schoenhardt and John Purcell. The quarterback, Calgary's Terry Dolan. Handoff, and the hole opened up for Paul Brule. He's at the 15, 10, 5, touchdown. And that Brule can run.
Loney didn't think I was quick enough. The whole week, almost the whole season in practice, I had to wear those friggin' high tops that weighed about 4 pounds each. As a running back, on game day,
Took him off.
he gave me my little lightweights.
They were made from a kangaroo
leather.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Rydell
Same with track
XPs.
and field.
Yeah.
Remember track and field?
I had
Cleats were light.
I had the Rydell XPs. He gave them to me. He took them away from me during the week. I wasn't allowed to wear those.
Yeah.
On game day, he put them in my locker. I felt like I could fly. He had you figured out.
Oh yeah.
He always had an edge on me.
Terry Dolan going back to throw, and it's complete, and touchdown. Terry Arneson in the end zone. And now St. Francis Xavier 40. Waterloo Lutheran Golden Hawks 14. And that's the way the game
I never felt that Don Loney ever got the due respect that he deserves for the Atlantic Bowl and the what we now call as the Vanier Cup.
The Vanier Trophy being held high by co-captains Jim Shea and Paul Brule after the presentation.
He was a perfectionist, and he didn't take any a second or third rate effort from coach didn't exist.
I'm a perfectionist. Doesn't mean I know a lot or can do a lot, but whatever I do or try to do or examine what you've done, I'm looking for, I will not accept second rate. If you can't do it, tell me. I'll accept you telling me that you can't do it. But I won't accept you telling me you can do it and then doing a bad job.
I mean, it's something he took up, quite late in life, is painting. But I think that anything he ever took up to do, he would do very, very well. He didn't want to do anything half-baked, He wanted to make sure if he was going to do it, it was going to be done right. And I think that's the way he coached football. If he was going to do it, he was going to do it right, and he wanted to win.
I loved to draw when I was a kid. And my father wasn't a bad artist, too. He taught me how to draw horses. There's one in one of those Christmas cards. Oh, there's one. I'm pretty good with the horses. No problem with the horses. My father was a perfectionist. Well, he had to be because of the nature of his job. Father was a railroad engineer. If you're running a fast train with 10 coaches behind you full of people at 70 miles an hour, and then an emergency is created or whatever, you cannot look for excuses. From the point of view of painting a picture, there's something about painting. You sort of select the thing that has the most influence on you.
Ernie Fauché, fullback in his sophomore year from Portland, Maine. Fauché is an outstanding football and basketball player and a better-than-average student. Here, Fauché returns the kickoff with a 30-yard run. Fauché's 83 became a familiar and lucky number for St. FX. Here he combines with another backfield star, Tom Delaney.
My own